Welcome to the Deschutes County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's 1 p.m. Monday, July 21st, 2025. And as I say, a couple thoughts here. We haven't met in 3 weeks now. It worked out real well. I think Commissioner Chang, you went to the East Coast, went to NACO. Is that what you did?
I was at NACO for 3.5 days. Yeah,
great. And then as I say, I went on a vacation following 4th of July, so I was gone a little bit extra. Because a few people were asking, why aren't you meeting? It's like, well, we just scheduled a little bit of time, and it ended up being slipping into 3 weeks the way it overlapped, so that worked out real well. So, and as I say at the beginning here, is there citizen input on a topic that's not on the agenda as a public hearing? Is there anyone online? Okay, well, and then just, I guess, yeah, one other note. YouTube's doing real good promoting our meetings because my mom asked, she's like, well, where's your meetings? Oh, we haven't had a meeting in a few weeks. So, I mean, that's interesting that people really noticed. Okay, item number 1, courthouse expansion update. We're getting right to it now. I heard the 3rd floor is up.
Good afternoon. Lee Randall, Facilities Director.
Corey Loomis, PM with Pence Contractors.
Wayne Powderly, Coming Group Owners Rep.
Eric Nielsen, Capital Improvements Manager, Facilities Department.
Welcome.
And then also with us today, after we finish our initial presentation, Judge Ashby, presiding judge, and trial court administrator Zoe Wild will have a small presentation at the end. So they'll join you in a few minutes. So we will start or work on the presentation setup.
Brenda, can you make me
Yeah, what I picked up from some of the construction guys, people I talked to, that getting these pours all prepped is a big deal. And Saturday morning for the 2nd floor, what date did it? Was it a weekday when they poured the 3rd floor? Or?
It was a weekday, started about 2:30 in the morning.
2:30 in the morning.
Last Tuesday
yeah.
morning, not day, so started early. So.
And then I saw them pouring the columns the other day too. Now there's some truck out there.
Okay, I will kick off the presentation. So as usual, we'll talk about recently completed work, the construction schedule, and then close with the budget. So as you can see, the webcam photo shows the progress there. We're continuing to get taller. And as Commissioner DeBone said, the 3rd floor was poured this week on Tuesday. So completed work, we've completed levels 1 and 2. And so this was just a couple of good photos that show, again, progress at the height of the building as it comes up from Harriman Street and Greenwood on the right. So this was just before it was poured with the formwork in place for the level 3 deck. And then completed level 2 concrete deck. This gives a good idea of how much shoring is in place for level 3. Shoring is put up below the formwork and then carries down on each floor into the basement as they keep moving along and pouring the decks. And then completed level 3 deck. This is an in progress photo. Shows the formwork, the rebar, a lot of the hangers that are placed for hanging HVAC equipment and other things from the slab, and then the orange steel tendons you can see there, the cables that are tensioned after the concrete's poured and cured for a few days. And then finally, here's the finished product. Nice clean concrete slab. So as Commissioner DeBone mentioned, the columns were being poured this week. Here you can just see the rebar cages. And then Pence is also moving into re-roofing a portion of the existing courthouse. So above what was expanded in 2004. That roof is original to the 2004 expansion project. Is due for replacement. And since this project's tying into that roof, we've elected to replace that roof as part of this project. So They just started that last week. Upcoming work.
Yeah, so over the next 4 to 6 weeks, we'll continue to work on the roof deck. So a lot of similar things that you see in the level 1, 2, and 3 decks. It's real similar for the roof deck. So we'll be doing all of our formwork, all our column pour outs, all those little hangers and sleeves like you saw in that level 3 photo. And then we're planning to pour the deck on August 7th. We've actually been working some overtime trying to pull that up a little bit. But that's our current date that we're planning on there. And then exterior framing and sheathing is underway right now. It'll continue throughout late summer and into early fall, so we can get buttoned up before the weather starts to turn on us. So it's going to be really quick. All of the shoring and everything's going to be starting to go away through August, and tower crane coming down for late August. So it's going to be a fun next 5 to 6 weeks. Big picture schedule wise, like we mentioned, we're starting to fold into building exterior. So on Greenwood, you'll start to see some of the exterior framing going in. So putting to work all that quality assurance that we put into the mock-up down in Lafayette that I know a lot of you have seen. We'll be starting to put that into practice on the building and go from there and move into interiors shortly thereafter. And, be wrapping up our primary activities coming into spring and early summer, and then going into building renovations shortly thereafter.
Any questions, comments before we talk about the budget?
Very excited to see it all going up so fast.
Yeah, I can pull it up.
So the budget that was distributed to you last week, the updated monthly budget, still holding strong, looking really good. We are currently actual spend to date, roughly about 45% overall spend to date, with a remaining balance of just over 26 million to finish. This now includes, we've gone through GC owner change order number 7. And we're still holding fast at a good GC contingency percentage of a little over 6% and owner contingency of just under 5% based on balance to finish. And yeah, it's looking strong, looking good, on track.
So there's not a lot of variables anymore. I mean, it's just kind of building to what we've all
Correct.
agreed to at this point.
Exactly. Yep.
That's exciting.
Yep. Budgets look good. Schedules looking good. Yep. Any questions on that? Pretty simple update. No, that's good.
There you go.
Exactly right.
No, is anything else coming down in price?
It's, with the talk of tariffs and all that stuff still, we haven't seen any tariffs, directly hit the job. Still kind of in the rumor mill. But we have not seen any significant reductions in material costs either. So still holding fast.
And so often it's major manufactured goods too. You see a lot of that in. There's a lot of parts coming from different places. And since we've already procured so much of that that's sitting there ready to get installed, we
Yeah.
avoided a lot of that.
So past
Yeah.
that procurement.
Right.
Well, thank you for that update.
Right.
It's just good to take a moment to understand where we're at, getting the building closed up. It's going to be exciting. Corey, you keep saying, yeah, winter's coming. It's, we're in the middle of the summer, but that's the next step. It's amazing.
I have to think that way.
Yeah.
So Corey and I will step back and turn it over to Judge Ashley.
Great. Judge, thanks for joining us today. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me, and it's always good to see all of you as well. First, before I say too much, I just wanted to introduce our new trial court administrator, Zoe Wild. Many of you participated in that hiring process and really appreciate your time and commitment to that process. She's fantastic, trying to figure out our space and our workflow and we're just really excited to have her, and you'll be, working with her in the future. It's a wonderful addition to our legal community. Really the purpose of me being here today is to really just express our gratitude for the investment made by the county. I'm keenly aware as a taxpayer that these are tax funds, and this is really supported by the citizens, but you folks are the stewards of those dollars. And I know I'm a little biased, but I think you've made it an incredibly wise investment in this community by supporting this project, funding this project. And we really, it'd be easy to say, hey, we're mid-project and down the road we go. But the gratitude certainly that I feel as the presiding judge is daily. And I see, I had a chance to, tour the construction site. I just can't even fathom the complexity of that project. Just the construction for dummies description they gave me was really, it's not like you run down to Home Depot and you grab some court stuff and put it up. It's highly skilled professionals, a commitment, by this board. And we never take our relationship with the county for granted. In our current facility, you've always been there, and this expression of hope and justice for the future in this community, as demonstrated by this construction project, is really incredible. Because I know that you have many other choices that you can make, and this project's very expensive. So thank you for that. I also just want to thank you. I'm an elected official as well, but in a much different non-political capacity. I know that you have decisions, regarding a sheriff and land use and all of these things. The breadth and depth of the work it's one of those things where I say, wow, it's really amazing. I'm glad somebody else does it. But thank you for serving. Do you have any questions?
I would just acknowledge, I think we're past the jackhammering foundations now, so that's a good sign, right?
I can tell you that they are working on the roof.
Oh,
Right
right
above
above your
C.
office.
So I've been bounced out of C, so I'm moving around to different courts the next couple of weeks, which is great. It's, I tell people, I said, these are great problems to have. In many other judicial districts, would love to have the problem of construction noise. It's great music to me.
And as you and I spoke, we have two courtrooms, but 3 judges' chambers coming on that floor. So we have empty judges' chambers, which is really, that's the next step.
Well, it's great because I think, one of the discussions that we had was how do you future-proof, this building? And so we went with 1 jury deliberation room, added the chambers, and it's going to make it much easier. Well, nothing's easy with the legislature, but it will make the pitch much easier when you need to go back for a 10th judge to be able to take a photograph and say, hey, we already have the space, we have the building, we just need the people. That's right. So thank you for that vision. Anything else?
I was reminded by Billy Williams last Friday that he still would love to have, for Ben, Deschutes County to have a federal courthouse. So of course, we know that's not in the makings, but yes.
It would be great for our citizens on.
Right,
on
so
this
we
side
don't
of
have to
the
go to
rock.
Eugene, and especially if they're not gonna be clearing the mountain, we might need that courthouse sooner rather than later.
That's right. Well, Commissioner Adair, thank you. Commissioner DeBonne, Commissioner Chang, thank you so much for allowing me to attend and take up your valuable time.
Great day.
Judge Ashby, thank you and the entire circuit court team for providing critical justice services for our community and providing access to justice to everyone in as timely a fashion as possible. So providing this building is part of the partnership of delivering that service.
I appreciate that. We work
You're the
hard.
ones who do the hard part.
Yeah, we have great staff, great management, and a wonderful bench, and we try every day to hold up our end of the bargain. So thank you.
So
Thank you
Judge
for
Ashby,
joining.
do you know how
Yeah.
many homicide cases we have right now?
Oh, it's many.
I know it's over 20.
It's a lot. I've worked on resolving some of them through settlements. But it got to a point where scheduling contacted me, so every homicide is assigned to an individual judge, whether it's manslaughter, murder. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One very critical is continuity for survivors. And scheduling a couple of times said, hey, Judge, you haven't assigned this case out yet. And I've been here for a while. I've been here 20 years, and I remember when it was a big deal in the district attorney's office if there was a homicide in a year. For whatever reason, we've certainly passed that mark, and I hope this kind of is more of an aberration moving forward than a trend line. Anything else?
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Item number 2 is purchase of commercial property insurance.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Eric Kropp. I'm here as the county's risk manager, and I'm seeking approval to pay an invoice for commercial property insurance in the amount of $386,697. This is just as background. Deschutes County purchases commercial liability or commercial property insurance that covers our buildings and contents. It also covers major pieces of equipment, such as equipment at the landfill, those big compactors that cost a couple hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we include large equipment in our policy. Our total insured value, the amount of property that we insure has gone up as we add square footage. That number increases. For the last fiscal year, the total insured value was $262 million. That is increasing to $278 million. And the premium is going up from $348,000 to just under $387,000. We have a self-insured retention of $25,000, or what is seen as a deductible. So if we have a loss, we pay the first $25,000, and then anything over $25,000 we turn it into insurance. Under this proposal, we will stay with the same carrier, which is Affiliated FM. They provide a great product. Not only do they insure our buildings, but they come out once or twice a year and inspect some of our facilities and give us some recommendations on how we can protect our assets. It's been a very good process. Lee Randall is still here. Lee often goes out with them, or they'll go to the Fair and Expo Center and provide some input to the county on that. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So $250,000 is kind of the threshold for signature for administrators. That would
Yeah,
so that's how it got here.
Whitney and I have the same signature authority as Nick, up to 250. Since it's over 250.
Yep.
It's coming for board approval.
And it's in our budget. And then this is, so we're self-insured for a lot of other things, vehicles and automotive and all that kind of stuff, but this is for buildings and large capital.
Yes, for property, much like a homeowner, we purchase a policy. To go self-insured, we would have to have too large of a fund in order to cover those costs. And when you think about the county, the property insurance, we're pretty low risk, especially because we're east of the Cascade, so we don't have the earthquake risk. But we have had a couple of significant claims over the years. We had the property just over here, the former Irwin Law Office that burned down. That property claim was about $500,000 or $600,000. And then also a number of years ago, we had the cave-in or the roof at the Fair and Expo Center because of the snow load leak. So that was another large claim.
Eric, I was gonna ask, speaking of risks, we have seen, certainly for homeowners, and I've heard from a number of commercial property owners about their insurance premiums going up because while, increasing wildfire risk. Are we not experiencing that as much because, most of our buildings are, in the middle of the city, or
We have we have not experienced that or heard that from our carriers or potential carriers. I'm not sure why. It might be because of the location of the buildings. Probably, I would just guess that residential buildings are probably more at risk than a commercial building for wildfire, even though both are at risk.
Like, for example, like the Sisters Athletic Club. They were 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, they were scrambling to their insurance cover pulled out, their insurance provider pulled out of Sisters, and they were scrambling to find someone else.
We haven't had that issue. Also, we have a large number of buildings, so I think we're attractive for potential carriers because of the cost of the premium and the number of buildings insured.
So has the same company always insured us for the last 5 years? I mean, I've sat with Brown & Brown, I think at the Bethlehem Man event a couple of years ago, and I just wondered.
Brown & Brown is our insurance agent of record, so they
Right.
go out and shop for us, and then FM Affiliated is the actual carrier. FM Affiliated, we probably had them as our property insurer for probably at least 5 or 6 years. And Brown & Brown has been our insurance agent of record for probably at least 18, 19, 20 years.
How often does Brown & Brown basically go out and shop around
Each year.
every year?
Yep. Yeah, they go out and shop property insurance for us, excess workers' compensation insurance, and then there's a couple of smaller bits of insurance that they go out and shop for us. Occasionally, we'll get a 2-year rate guarantee, so sometimes we'll do that. But they go to market each year, and then occasionally we'll sign up for a 2-year rate guarantee. If we switch too much, it's not good.
But every year, that makes our competitive economy work for us.
Yeah, if you ever purchase insurance, there tends to be a formula, and it's your rates are going up because of, and then you name whatever national issues, either floods or wildfire or earthquakes or all of the above.
Inflation, cost of construction.
Inflation, yes.
Is there a motion?
I move to authorize the risk manager to pay an invoice for $386,697 to Brown & Brown Insurance Services
I'll
for
second.
commercial property insurance.
And it's been seconded. Any other discussion? Commissioner Chang? Yes. Commissioner Rea?
Yes.
The chair will vote yes. Thank you. Item number 3, draft IGA with City of Redmond for a managed camp. Be managed camp. Somebody could name the managed camp.
East Redmond Managed Camp.
Something.
Thank you, Erica Kropp here as Deputy County Administrator, now different hat.
Chris Stollinger, Deschutes County Property Management.
As the board is aware, we've been working with the City of Redmond on a proposal for a managed camp. Mr. Chang and Adair are part of a work group that has been working with the mayor and councilor Zwicker from the City of Redmond, as well as Redmond staff. We've been meeting every other week for quite a few months now.
No, we don't actually meet every other week.
Every third week.
Okay, every third week.
And then it's been canceled several times too recently. So yeah, we didn't have the meeting that we were supposed to have last week. I believe it's now not till August 7th, perhaps, whatever it is.
Through the meetings, the group has been providing our contractor, our designer with some input into the managed camp. The board packet has some site plans and just an overview of the managed camp. But really today, we're here to talk about a draft MOU. The MOU is just a starting point. City staff and county staff got together, talked about the draft MOU. And the draft MOU talks about what both parties agree to in terms of the camp itself, as well as each organization's responsibility related to the managed camp. So we have Redmond elected officials here, so I don't know if the board wants to invite them up, but they're available as well as City of Redmond staff. The staff report also talks about some different.
Yeah, please join us, yeah.
there's like, of course, the capital cost of the managed camp. There's a proposal on how to split that. That's been based on many discussions between the two elected bodies, as well as the operating costs. And staff report identifies some potential funding sources for the county.
Yeah, so as I say, my fellow commissioners are kind of leading the show on this more than I am, so.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
So we're excited to have this IGA move forward. And I think it's a win-win situation for both the city and the county. You guys can move forward with the exchange. We'll help the businesses on 17th Street to reduce conflict there. We'll get a safe place, secure place for people to live. And I think it's going to be a great result for the whole community.
Is this, so yeah, I'm interested in the topic. Is this low barrier?
Yes. There will be rules.
Yeah.
The management, we're still working on in terms of rules. We expect it to be open sometime in December. And so we'll continue to work on that with the group that we've had put in place already. But yes, it will have rules, it will have safety issues and, management so that people are secure there. And we don't end up with some of the, I'll call it the problems with unmanaged situations where you have fires and conflict, theft, and basically assault and stuff like that.
So when we went, I did a tour down at Church in the Park, which is the name of an operation that ended up taking an industrial area and putting people in camping situations, kind of more of a urban camping. This is kind of that same thing, but it was paved areas. And they learned that as soon as you give somebody that owns a trailer power and access to water and disposal, they have no need to come out the front door anymore for services. So I don't know if you've talked about that or thought that through a little bit. I mean, it could be a little tricky, getting somebody stabilized in these situations. You're like, no, I'm fine, I don't need any more services, I'm not going anywhere. They assume that's what's gonna be for the rest of their lives, some people. So just one of those scenarios that I learned, I'm just sharing that information. Also, what about the opportunity for somebody to pay for the cost of services, water, power,
There
waste?
won't be individual power to each site. There will be power to the site, and there will be water and water line and fire hydrants available. So those will be helpful improvements. There'll be waste management. We will have a couple of yurts out there for management purposes. But this is all work in progress. I'm sure there's going to be more discussion, more tweaks, more changes down the road, but it's a great start.
Just some ideas.
We haven't talked that much about the management and operation of this managed camp yet, but seems like in places where facilities are set up like this that are successful and that help to move people, on the pathway out of homelessness. Some common ingredients are to have screening for people on their way in. Not just anybody gets to go live there. People need to be screened. They need to have the potential to graduate out of homelessness. They need to have the capacity to follow rules and be a good community member. Then the managers of such facilities will develop progress plans with people and then hold them accountable. That's the way that that's part of the reason why our safe parking sites in the city of Redmond are so successful, because there's screening, then there's case management with accountability for progress, and accountability for following rules, and then screening, site management, appropriate rules, and the right infrastructure to make sure things work. So I think on that part, the design and the physical facilities of it, I think we've put a lot of thought into that end, but it is a good time at this point to really start to get very serious about how this will be organizationally structured and managed, and what the rules will be, and the intake process, case management, all of those things. And I'm glad that this IGA doesn't just look at capital construction costs, but starts to look at what it's gonna take to operate this long term.
I think you know, Commissioner Shang, that part of what we're trying to do is create the base for someplace to springboard off of what you just suggested. It's one thing to ask people to move and give them no structure or facility to move to. It's another to have a place when you are vetting people and looking for those people who are truly trying to step out of a situation to offer those services. And this is a good first start to that.
So I have a question. You're saying discussions have been that the county would pay for the operating costs. I don't remember that vote, that we're gonna pay the operating costs on an annual basis. I know we're doing the land and an extra 31,000 over the contribution for actually the capital costs. And then I did have a conversation Saturday morning with Chad from Taylor Northwest, and he was still questioning the 20-foot wide road, the gravel road that's 400 feet long. I believe he was sent this diagram, but he still, he said, oh yeah, we want to do it, but actually, is this the road that he needs to do on this plan?
No, I think what we were talking about was just from the end of the street that's gonna be paved by.
Right, it says right here paved, and then it says gravel here.
Okay, I think what we were talking about was getting the gravel over to Oasis, originally. That was my recollection.
Okay, because I was told 400 feet, 20 feet wide, 400 feet long, so we need to clarify what we're actually asking them to help with as far as a donation. And then also Jericho Road is showing up on this diagram, and we in the county have never approved that.
Oh,
And if you keep putting it on there before we've actually voted on it, I think it's not, we need to vote on those kind of things.
I think it was just a placeholder, Commissioner, Mayor, so we're happy to take that off of there.
Right, you put it on there and everyone is going to assume that we've already approved it. Well, no, we have not. So I know they wanted to do like a mosaic, and what are we hearing, about the issues with mosaic in Redmond?
So.
We have serious
you're-
issues.
You're absolutely correct. No vote was taken on Jericho Road. No vote was taken on continuing support of the operation by the county. All that the IGA calls for is a good faith effort to look at that and see if you can fund it up to a certain maximum amount. That's gonna be a vote by the commissioners at a later time. That's not before you today. But there's two aspects to this managed camp. The first is if we don't build it, it doesn't make any difference. We have to build it first. And then, you, the county and the city both have continuing challenges with homelessness in Redmond as well as in Bend. And there's gonna be more challenges in the future with Jericho, with China Hat closing, with BLM closing. We've seen an influx of more homeless into the Redmond area, as I'm sure Bend has. We have a lot of different areas that are being closed off for homelessness for a lot of reasons. Areas around South and Umatilla, which is owned by the city and subject to the airport FAA patent. That's now closed. 21st Street's gonna be closed. The area of the managed camp's gonna be closed. So there's a lot of moving parts out there on the east side of Redmond. And the more we can establish some security, some base, the better off we're gonna be in the long run.
Well, what I did like is that I did confirm with our finance this morning with Robert Chintel that we do have the 1.3 million reprogramming ARPA funds. So I did find that out. I just want to be sure that we haven't, this money can go away so fast.
Yeah.
And honestly, we need a place, but we need definitely rules. And is the joint group gonna vote then if it's gonna be option B with the 18 units? Like here it shows 18 units for B, development not occupied. I mean, has that decision been made, A, B, C?
Yes.
Yes.
The 36 spots is the one that was chosen.
Number C, okay, the one that's gonna cost more.
We chose the 36 spots, Patty, because we need to bring water to it for fire and safety. As you know, when people live in congregated, unmanaged situations, fires can happen, whether it's a cook fire or something else. Having the access to water is primary, and our fire department, and for the purpose.
Said we had to have
said
it.
we had to have it. You were at that meeting, yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah, we have, definitely, we need water. I mean, how many fires did we have last week in the TS, here? We
No,
had
we had a
two.
couple in Redmond as well.
Yeah.
So again, we're trying to create some place that for congregated shelter of this type is safe. They will have rules, and it does say in the IGA that those rules will be made once we're moving forward. So we will work as a group to create those rules and that access, and then an RFP managed by the county will go out and help us find the correct provider.
So can what do you guys say then, is if we're doing C and then we're having these two loops, is that gonna be 400 feet with both loops?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of from the end of 21st
Right.
Street to the site's the same distance.
Okay, because there's two circles around here, so I just wanna make sure that we're asking for as much as.
I mean, those are, what's inside the circles is actually part of the budget.
Okay, but if somebody's gonna donate it, don't we
That
wanna
would be
donate?
very helpful, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if someone in our community doesn't mind stepping up, and I apologize for calling him Saturday morning, but he said it was fine. I said, like, just trying to, make sure, because they've been more than willing to be part of all the public-private collaboration to clean up your community, our county. Yes,
That's great, yeah, no, the Northwest is a great partner.
right, okay.
And staff can remind me of the specifics, but when we looked at options A, B, and C, option C, providing the most units cost more, but on a per site basis, this is the most cost effective way to go, and we do need the 36 sites.
Right.
That land, Commissioner, and I'm sure you remember this, has the capacity to go up to 72 sites, so we can continue to push further west, should this be a working model that works, and create additional sites as needed. But we felt at this time that was the most cost effective way to start to address the problems on the state lands and along 17.
And managing 72 sites is gonna be a big task. Seems like a very good scale to basically pilot this out.
We agree.
So this is a proposed intergovernmental agreement, splitting capital costs and making a commitment for, general operations for a couple of years.
That's a future discussion you guys will have, and subject to your vote.
Yes, that motion.
But I would just want to point out that the city is putting $1 million into this east side campus between the $750,000 committed toward 21st Street and this $250,000. So for a city our size, it's a sizable commitment.
Couple more things I wanted to say. There have been a few times when Commissioner DeVon has suggested this long-term visitor area concept instead of the managed camp. I wanted to give the opportunity to go back and explore that more fully if you'd like. Talking to a couple people like Chuck Hemingway, who's actually studied how that works in places like Nevada. It is a lot more of an investment and a commitment than saying, that area over there, you can use that, just sign a piece of paper and you're good to go. Like there's a substantial amount of investment in the site and then in the administration of a long-term visitor area program. So if we wanted to actually talk about that, I think it would be useful to bring somebody in who actually can lay out for us like the complete story of what it takes to do a long-term visitor area, and then we could actually do it's not an apples to apples comparison, but it's a more real apples and oranges comparison, and understand why that that may or may not meet our needs.
We indicated in our discussions Friday that there's merit in looking at that because this is not going to solve all the problems of homelessness in the Redmond area. There will be a need to do additional work, and that may be from an economic standpoint, resource standpoint, maybe a very good topic for discussion once we get this one done. I think there will be an opportune time to do that.
So are the people at Birch Apartments then just staying there forever? Is that what they're allowed to
Birch
do?
Apartments.
It was the Bethlehem Inn that we put 900,000
Oh.
into.
That I don't know, Patty. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
I understand your concern. I know you guys put a lot of money into it, but
and then there's the Navigation Center too, which I realize is kind of fluid, but when I've been there, they've been really full. But are any of those people able to move on to housing? That's what I'm wondering, because that's been funded for a while.
excuse me. I think it would be a good idea to invite them to one of our meetings to go over that.
No, it's a great idea. I mean, I do talk to the people at Bethlehem Inn all the time, but it just would be nice. Originally, Bethlehem Inn was supposed to be 88 beds, and then it went down to like 32, and I drive by there quite a bit, and I really hardly ever see any cars. So does that mean that the people are there are actually working? And
They have new management, as you know.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a good idea when we have our next meeting is to have them come over and explain.
to our joint meeting?
To our, yeah.
Okay, good. Great idea.
So, yeah, common goal is to, move forward on the east side of Redmond. There's other big future things to go on out there. This land swap for the fairgrounds has been talked about for 20 years or more, probably.
22 now.
It's very important that we do that. I always think of how can we be a little bit more deterministic for our, if land use is the holy topic in the state of Oregon, and you shall not go outside the lines. We've got this land out there that is, no camping, and we've been allowing unauthorized long-term camping there for a long time, and it's happened all over the place. So this is the big picture. I guess back to Commissioner Chang. So, are you pointing out that we should have a discussion about the idea of long-term visitor area to figure out how viable it'll be, or to prove how it's not going to work, or how expensive it'll be?
I think that a lot from what I've learned now, it sounds like the long-term visitor area really would serve a slightly different population, a seasonal workforce maybe, snowbirds in southern Nevada, but not necessarily chronic homeless people. So it might be useful to learn about it because we can understand the function of each, which I think will indicate a need for this managed camp. Like a lack of an ability to meet that need with the long-term visitor. That doesn't mean it might not be useful from essentially a housing scarcity perspective somewhere in the region, but for our needs, for clearing out the 140 acres, I think this is what we need. This, if we can't have all the shelter and transitional housing, we need having people go to a managed camp, a managed authorized camp with rules is a lot better than free for all out on the federal, state, and county public lands.
So you walk to somebody up to somebody on the east side of Redmond, maybe on the land swap land, and say, you can't be here, but you can be in this managed camp. And they don't want to go to the managed camp. I mean, there's scenarios in there that are really interesting.
Well,
If we've
probably
provided,
gonna end up on the 1,200 acres.
So we're just gonna displace them on the same property.
Well, it's not exactly the same property, but as a practical matter, I can see that
How's
happening.
that? Yeah. I'm just, that's what I see happening too. Like, nope, not for me.
Well,
And which is fine. Remember, I walked the whole thing. I got to know a bunch of folks out there. I spent some nights out there. I don't know that we're gonna be able to, people will use it. But it's just, yeah,
But this is exactly the same thing that's happened at China Hat and out at Juniper, is that people were given choices and options that you can't be here and here's where you can't go. And they migrate and they ended up either in Juniper or they've moved a little further into Lapine or into North County, or they've moved down to Redmond. But this is what happens. People all have different needs. And those that are given an opportunity to go someplace where they might have that assistance and might feel more safe will be the ones that would accept a managed camp scenario. We've already been posting notices, as the mayor said, for Southwest, Umatilla, and Sixth because of the FAA ruling and the need not to have people in that zone. And they made choices similar of, well, we'll go to these places. And they were interested in, oh, if you eventually get a camp, we would love to probably go there. But we didn't have that place to allow them to go to at this time.
so that, it just brings me back to the concept that, maybe there is a simple fee for service scenario in there, but.
I think in the future, it's a very good conversation.
When implementation of the big fuels reduction project surrounding China Hat Road was moving forward, everyone said, oh, nobody out there is gonna wanna go to shelter or transitional housing or anything like that. They all just wanna live like this and they'll go find another place in the forest. But there were, many tens of people went to places like St. Vincent's Village, to the Old Mill Inn and Suites, and other places. I think that there will be, to save parking, there will be people who are currently out in East Redmond in the dirt who will welcome this opportunity. And then it's not everybody, but it's that many less people living out in unauthorized camp locations. I also, you referenced the Fair and Expo. I did, I'll look to Bill right now because he is our the member of the Fair and Expo board that's currently present, but we are, one of the primary reasons that the county is moving forward with all of this is to facilitate that land exchange. That will bring a parcel of land worth tens of millions of dollars into the possession of the Fair and Expo Center. I think that is a reason to ask the Fair and Expo Center to help in some way with the response to homelessness in Redmond, to help us get that land cleared out. Prior requests to do safe parking or something like that at the Fair and Expo have gone nowhere. I don't think that the Fair and Expo is necessarily in a position to put cash on the table for this project, but this starts to this IGA starts to operationalize what it will take to operate this facility, and many of the things that it'll take to operate this facility are things that Fair and Expo is doing on their grounds or in their RV park already. So I am very interested in asking the Fair and Expo Center to essentially make an in-kind contribution to the operation of this managed camp. Do things like helping us to manage trash, or porta potties, things like that. That again, Fair and Expo has a lot of experience with and has staff capacity to do currently. That could help to bring down the dollar cost for the operation commitment that the county is making to something much more manageable. If everyone else thought it was appropriate, I think we could even be that specific in the IGA. But
Would you like a response now, or?
I mean, you're one of the board members. I don't expect you to speak for all of them.
Okay.
But if you'd like to say something.
I would suggest that we'll have a combined Board of County Commissioner, Deschutes County Fair and Expo Board meeting this fall. I don't believe that's been scheduled yet. But I would like to see that if that is a formal request, to bring that to the table at that time. I think that would be the appropriate method to convey that message back to Fair and Equitable Board.
I can do that. And I will hope that that there's more openness to discussion than there has been in the past.
Well, the really good news is Oasis is now up to 25, I believe. And we're going to have 75 units at the permanent supportive housing. So that's 100 right there. And trying to find out how many run through the navigation centers, Shepherd's House and Redmond every night. But it seems like we've definitely added a lot of capacity. And it seems like we're still underwater.
It's just not gonna be solved overnight, and it may not even be solved during any of our tenures. But it doesn't mean you can't have to keep working at it, because otherwise you are gonna have more fires, more improper conduct, I'll say. You could have a wide range. But you're all gonna also have more conflict in each of our communities.
Have we only had one murder in Redmond this year so far?
No, I think there's been more than that, but
Have you?
yeah, there was one by my house.
Well, I meant within the homeless.
Oh, I think that's the only one, you know, if I recall correctly.
So this is a proposed IGA, and good discussion. Is it ready to be back into motion on, or is there any changes in there?
But just while you're waiting, we do intend to bring it up tomorrow night at our council meeting for approval.
It's the commitment of $281,000 plus a commitment for operations in the next couple of years.
Yeah, the B6 is the county capital contribution, and then B7 is the operational.
Motion, I just wanted to give my commissioners as much time for discussion as they wanted.
I'd actually like to see a breakdown of the 250,000 per year. I mean, what are we gonna get for that? You know, how much support for helping people move on and solve their issues will actually happen with spending 250,000? I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's gonna go very far.
So the 250,000, Commissioner Dare, is more associated like with services like providing security, water, trash services, cleanup, towing, things like that. Once we start managing, I think we can refine. So we've, put quite a bit of contingency in this because we just don't know. But once we start managing or working with our partners to manage this, however that is going to look like, then we'll have a better idea. We can refine and, have further discussion for future funding.
I do think this starts to get at the operating plan. What does management look like? What does intake, putting people on a progress plan, accountability, case management, what does that look like? Because right now, without that, we cannot see how this very nice facility that we planned the hardware, but we cannot see how it actually moves people out of homelessness onto something better until we understand the way it's gonna be operated, the goals of that, and kind of the way that, you know, people are supported and, you know, encouraged through the process of exiting homelessness. So I mean, you know, that's something I wanna see in connection with, you know, our commitment to operation funding. At the same time, I know that, you know, as the mayor said, you know, if we don't build it, then there's nothing to operate. So I'm comfortable moving forward with what we have at the moment. But, you know, making sure that staff and, you know, everyone involved in this partnership is moving us forward towards how this facility is gonna be operated and who's gonna be operating it.
And if you look at the plan and you look at page, well, it's 26 on ours. Okay, so the gravel, each RV gravel pad is 12 by 50 and the parking pad is 9 by 20. So it seems like if we're gonna ask for somebody to actually help us underwrite, we need to tell them the maximum that we really need. So if there's an opportunity for them to really help us out with all the gravel for this plan, that's gonna be huge.
Yeah, all I remember.
I mean, yeah, what I asked for is honestly looking at this, somebody with a calculator needs to figure this out.
So Commissioner Dare, the engineering plans for the managed camp are done and they're under city review right now. So once that process is done, we will put out a formal invitation to bid. And what we're planning on doing in that is trying to incorporate some in-kind, supplies and services and whatnot. So not sure exactly what that's going to look like, but we definitely intend to try to include that in our invitation to bid process. So we don't quite, these plans have not been approved by the city as a jurisdiction. So we're working towards that. Once we have that, then we're gonna go to the next step, which is finding a contractor and our hopes to have some sort of in-kind services or supplies.
Because just looking at those dimensions, I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, I didn't ask for enough.
Yeah, I think the discussion maybe a month or two ago was that we would ask for the donation for the gravel outside of the managed camp itself. If someone was willing to do the gravel, including the managed camp, that would certainly save a lot of money. But that wasn't the discussion we had initially.
Well, I know people in Deschutes County are, with two fires last week, up north of Bend, people are, and fires in Redmond, people are on pins and needles, and I know a lot of people really do wanna help, so,
I think we're all on pins and needles as well.
yeah.
Well, and won't it be nice, Patty, when we actually have someplace where there's gravel, there's not sagebrush, where there's
Right.
water accessible, and then there's on-site oversight, so that there is just a little bit less chance of those accidents. And having a centralized cooking area also will help prevent those little side fires as well. So these
I mean, but look what just happened in Green Acres.
Yeah.
So, you know,
like,
yes,
somebody with mental health issues is
Right.
always gonna be harder to find and pinpoint than not, so yes.
Is there, maybe break it up a little bit here, so managed camp capital costs at $281,000 from ARPA dollars. Talk about operating. So we do something here today.
I am actually concerned that if we don't talk about it all as a whole, it might end up costing the county more. So,
Well, here's how I guess I would look at it. One, we do have a defined plan, we do have a defined budget for the construction of the camp. On the operational, you have a concept of a $250,000 maximum budget. But you don't know now whether the Fair Board is going to participate in some in-kind, whether there's gonna be more in-kind participation by others. So that's gonna be a fluid discussion going forward for the board. I don't think you're gonna be able to solve that today because there's still some unknowns, but we do have a known factor on the construction of the camp. And that's why you have in 7B that there be a maximum amount, but it could be significantly less on that depending upon in-kind services, et cetera. And like Christie said, that's gonna be a bit of a work in progress. As to how much trash do we actually have? How many porta potties use are gonna have? How many people are gonna have in there?
So I think, and Christy backed me up, when they were extrapolating these numbers during our meetings, because this isn't the first run of these, they were using actual hard numbers from camps that they were already assisting, whether it was in Juniper and Dirt World or China Hat, and what those actual costs were. So we do have some idea, while this might be a little bit fluid, that this is gonna be a good base number to support what we need.
Good maximum number.
With that, I mean, I think this IGA is as complete as it can be at this moment, and it is complete enough to move forward. I do like the idea of setting the envelope and then seeing where we can find partnerships and in-kind contributions to ratchet down the cost, you know, the cash cost as we can. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the IGA with the city of Redmond, the intergovernmental agreement with the city of Redmond for that. As presented. As presented.
One reason why I have it today, if we can get an approval, is that construction is to begin in August, assuming that it is approved, with the goal of having this in place before winter hits. And that's an important component of it, and also whether you guys have an actual firm date of January 1 to get this thing done with the DSL is another issue.
Stand by for a second. That's good.
So that leaves us with less than 600,000 to keep spending here, and if we can actually commit 250,000 for the next 2 years. So that's the interesting question. Honestly, I do want, if we're just approving then the agreement at the back and not the maps, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so, and we're doing 36 to begin with, that's what we're going with option C.
Yes.
Okay, because on this IGA, it says exhibit XX.
We just haven't labeled the exhibit, so it's just a placeholder. Everything will be complete before it goes to you for signature.
Okay. I'm going, well,
It's just a draft.
yeah, I can tell, and I hate approving something that's not, okay, I will second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? This is for the IGA is presented to be finalized after the vote. So this is big picture. I don't support the fact that future operation is going to be asking the governor and the legislature for money. We do need to get more deterministic about these long-term unsanctioned camping. This is a project that the fellow commissioners have supported, so I'm just going to leave it at that. And I won't be supporting this, but at least we got somewhere today. Any other discussion? Calling for the vote, Commissioner Chang? Yes. Commissioner Dare?
Yes.
And Chair will vote no.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good thoughtful discussion.
We'll look forward to hearing back from the council tomorrow.
So now, discussion of possible action for security control.
Good afternoon, Eric Croft, Deputy Town Administrator.
Welcome back.
Christie.
Still here.
Couple of months ago, the board and staff discussed 1,333 acres of county-owned land in Redmond that has a code enforcement complaint that was verified. At the time, the board agreed to hold the code enforcement complaint in abeyance because the county has several other higher priorities, including Juniper Ridge, the 21st Street, the managed camp, and the DSL land exchange. During that discussion, Commissioner Adair asked about providing security patrols on the 1,300 acres, and staff said that it would come back with a cost estimate. There's also been some discussion about increasing security patrols at Juniper Ridge. Currently, the city or the county pays for 2 hours of security patrol, and the city also pays for 2 hours of security patrol. That's per day. That's handled by a private security firm. The hourly cost of security is $82.50 based on the county's current contract. And the staff report kind of extrapolates that cost for the hours per day, the cost per year. Staff report goes from, has a table of 1 hour per day all the way up to 5 hours per day. With that, Christy and I are happy to answer questions. But really, the discussion seems to be twofold. One is whether or not to start security patrols at the Redmond 1,300 acres. And then the second question is whether or not to increase security hours on county-owned property at Juniper Ridge.
We have public safety presence out there and public safety response for incidents out there, but this is kind of that added, just a presence of somebody getting around, probably even making relationships because the same person's doing it. That's kind of.
Yes, we Compass Security has been a great partnership. They have staff that are trained like other law enforcement officers. They develop relationships with the people. They answer questions. They provide assistance. All law enforcement, if it's a law enforcement issue.
One thing I just wanted to share as well, so though they only patrol currently at Juniper Ridge, the TSSA 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's 2 hours on city property, 2 hours on county property, they're often out there with our vendors. So for example, like if our water vendor is gonna go out there and be filling the cisterns, a lot of times they want security there with them. So they may not be patrolling in those moments for those couple hours, but they're there's a presence. So there's a presence more often than just the patrol hours that we're paying them. We're also paying them to accompany vendors when our vendors request that.
So that's on top of the 2 hours.
Correct.
I was trying to extrapolate from the very small number of acres at Juniper Ridge to 1,300 acres. I mean, if you just multiply the cost for our small number of acres at Juniper Ridge, time whatever it would need to be to get to 1,300 acres, we're talking about a whole lot more hours. And I also think that the farther out you get in the county property down in East Redmond, the farther you get from paved roads, and the deeper and deeper you get into roads that are not engineered or maintained. So just thinking about I just extrapolating that number out, multiplying it X times, whatever, that sounds exorbitantly expensive to me. I do think if we are concerned about all of the county properties in East Redmond, we could prioritize areas. We could say, well, if we are concerned about human ignited fires that would threaten neighborhoods, what are the parts of the 1,300 acres that we would be most concerned about. And we could consider, instead of trying to provide security patrol across the entirety, just working around the edges, and prioritizing a small amount of area that, would give us the biggest bang for the buck in terms of minimizing the impacts on public safety. The original code complaint, when the person said, I like to ride my mountain bike all over here, that is, not gonna be a prior, making that whole area, pristine for that person to ride their mountain bike is not gonna be as high a priority for me as, the parts of the county property that are immediately adjacent to neighborhoods where there's real public safety or sanitation concerns. Or, I don't want my kid to go out and play in the junipers out there because who knows what kind of trash or human waste or whatever they're gonna find. Is that kind of following my line of thought on that? So would there be a way to kind of break down the 1,300 acres and, identify a smaller area where it would, give us the biggest bang for the buck in terms of some additional security patrols?
Probably the approach we take is talk to some experts in terms of where is the greatest fire danger at that 1,300 acres, and that could be prioritized. There could also be conversations with either service providers or law enforcement in terms of activity. So it could be prioritized based on where the activity that we don't want.
There's a history
Yeah.
of problems.
Or like, and Nevis transfer station, we've had break-ins over the years. So that would certainly warrant a higher priority in that area.
Okay, so we have over 200 people at the TSSA, over 200. I just feel like, okay, so last week, we had 2 fires and 1 train, and somebody abandoned their vehicle on the tracks instead of pushing it off because it was out of gas. So it just seems like I've heard that the juniper clearing has been really beneficial, but still, you never know which way the wind is gonna be blowing when they start the next fire. Remember last year we had 81 fires right there in Bend from transients. So I just feel like when I drove around East Antler out there, I mean, you can go for a while, but just to have a presence with security to me is a good message, because we're already telling them we're gonna have things, you're gonna be moving. Okay, we're almost the 1st of August, and we're expecting that we're gonna get our camp done by December. So they need to see that we're actually stepping up what we need to be doing in order to do that land swap.
Yeah, we actively have Compass Security out there patrolling in East Redmond, just it's not very much, like it's an hour a day.
An hour a day, right now?
Right now, just to with the 21st Street footprint and the construction starting on that soon, we didn't want new camps establishing there, and the same with the managed camp. We didn't want new camps establishing on the managed camp footprint. So they're sort of kind of bouncing between those 2 footprints and just letting people know if they see somebody's trying to establish, they're like, we gotta move on. So we do have a little, very minor presence out there.
Okay, well, I would just love another hour where we actually go out, drive around. The day I was out in 2019 with Officer Zook, somebody had a fire going in September. And of course, he carries water with him, and I know the Compass people carry water with them, because you just never know what people are gonna do, and you never know what they're gonna see and stop. So, and develop a relationship, like, hey, guess what, we're gonna have a really great place for you to move to in a couple of months. And I think that's part of the message.
They have shared that, they've let people know that the county and the city have been working on a managed camp plan, and that's, the plan is to develop that. So.
Okay, but have they driven to the people, like the person that has the garden, last year I saw it, corn was taller than me, and they had a pickup fence around it.
We don't have them patrolling the whole area.
Right, that's
just
what I
those
mean,
2
I would just like
footprints,
to add it to that, because those people have been homesteading, and they're clearly not gonna be happy to move off.
So are you,
I'm saying we should add another hour.
hour a day.
Just what does one fire cost?
You support that commission? On the east side of it,
I can support that.
yeah. Motion on that, or is there the funds defined where they would come from?
Christie, are you picking that up or are we?
Okay.
If we make the
It's
motion.
we either way, but yeah.
No, she's got a special fund, it's not out
Special
of our one,
fund.
it's not at our one
So
three,
that's
it's at
12.
090.
And then defining it for maybe down to the end of the year instead of
Yeah,
12
exactly,
months.
till December 1st, and hopefully our plans will be timely.
If the commissioners so choose, we can reallocate some of our funding in Fund 090, which is the project development fund to cover that, or the reallocated ARPA dollars. I think those are really our two options as far as I know.
So I move that we add 1 hour of coverage a day till December 1st. And at the end of November, if we're a month behind or something, we'll have to see how much snow's on the ground.
For the east side of that,
Yes,
ARPA dollars?
Yeah.
$3 for clarity.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? I'll support this in support of, just making the presence, looking for folks, reminding them what's going on in the big picture. Say, maybe not touching the whole thing all the time, but making a kind of a footprint around the whole thing, sooner or later, kind of concept. Calling for the vote or anything else.
no, it's actually, so it's from 8/1 to let's say 12/1, and so that isn't 30,000. But yes, but that many days,
We could start it like now,
as soon as you
if you're
can,
inclined, yeah.
yes.
And you said through December, I'm sorry, or
Through December 1st,
Okay.
because we may have something, we may have our camp done, our managed camp done by then.
So calling for the vote, Commissioner Adair,
Yes,
Commissioner Chang. Yes. And I'll vote yes also.
But one final thought, if fire is our first and foremost concern, in some ways, the risk will be less, when fall comes and it gets cooler.
Okay, thank you very much. Are you doing the next item, Mary?
I don't think so.
Okay. Item number 5, nominees to serve on district mapping advisory. DMAC, I saw the acronym.
oh my gosh, we're right on time.
This is our item, but yeah. thoughts?
Sure, Commissioners, Jim Patterson, who's been helping lead this effort, is out of the office this week. We identified with the board a couple of weeks ago that this would be your opportunity to identify who you would like to nominate to serve on the District Mapping Advisory Committee. And we have the number of nominees per commissioner identified in the staff report, 2 weeks for Commissioners DeBona and Adair, and 3 for Commissioner Chang. And then the board would finalize those appointments on Wednesday, just 2 days. Commissioner Chang had mentioned that he might want to listen to who the other nominees might be prior to identifying specifically who he would appoint to the committee based on various factors. So I'm certainly happy to answer your questions, but otherwise, Commissioners, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, so this is putting together this committee. It's a district mapping advisory committee. Board of Commissioners asking a group of citizens to put a recommended map back to us for us to accept, and the idea would be to put it on a ballot for next May, but that's for all of us to work out together. So I got 2 names here, as I say, electors in the district, engaged citizens that are willing to participate, and I can mention the names right away. Any procedural steps here? Ready to hear some names?
Sure.
So Mr. Ned Dempsey, who just happens to join us today. So Ned lives in Bend. He's been in Deschutes County since 1973, married with 2 children and 4 grandchildren. But civil engineer, has worked in many of the cities here in Deschutes County with these civil engineering efforts. He's involved in some statewide commissions and committees. So Oregon Future Commission, member of Oregon Sustainability Board, co-chair of the Climate Change Commission of the state, member of Deschutes County Solid Waste Committee, Oregon Magazine Entrepreneur of the Year. I don't know what year that was, but we'll learn more. And as I say, completed engineering work for basically every community in Deschutes County through his career. And then member of the High Desert Museum Board of Directors. So that's my first nomination. Thanks for joining us today, but there's one name. Second name is a community member in the Pine area, Bernie Brader. So Bernie has served in the military, and he worked in industrial water treatment for two major companies for many years. Been a resident of the Pine area for 20 years. Married with son and daughter-in-law, 5 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, so family in the area. Also a member of Frontier Days, Ponderosa Mountain Men, where I see him regularly, and then the Pine RC Flyer. So, but Frontier Days, Bernie Brader is he's the man about the town. He connects with everybody. So I think he'll be really good to be able to bring to the table. So I want to thank both those folks for stepping up, and those are 2 names that I'm nominating. Or basically, these are our personal appointments. So those are the 2 that I'm bringing to the table.
So I'm next. Oh, and you forgot to say that Ned did the Willow Creek Dam in Hebner.
There you go, touched some things over the years.
I know, with whatever, yes, I know. The Bureau of Reclamation, 100 years after the flood. Yes, 100 years, the government stepped in and saved the town of Hebner. Thank you, government. Yes, so my 2 people are Matt Cyrus, who is the chair of the Planning Commission, and past Commissioner Phil Henderson, so they do it. So those are my 2.
Great. So that gives us 4 names that are out in the community and the public here. So Commissioner Chang, I know, and real thoughtful about wanting to, put some names out there.
Yeah, that's just you all don't have other additional nominees to consider from among?
So there was a concept of, an alternate or a backup name or whatever. And if you think your way through it, why kind of defocus the work of the people that are appointed? If there's a moment, this is my thought, if there's a moment where somebody's not able to serve or something changes, then we would have that discussion. So that's where I'm keeping. Yeah, because there was other people that could be not, could be involved.
Okay. Well, as I've said along the way, I want to make sure that this committee is representative of the complete community, and is balanced and proportionally represents the community. I was especially concerned about geography, party affiliation, the urban-rural divide, since over 70% of the people of Deschutes County live in incorporated cities. So I came with five potential nominees to be sure that basically whatever you all put out, I could try to work to make sure we've got complete geographic or geographic representation, balance, proportional balance, et cetera. And I won't on the fly be able to just pick 3 of these. So I'll just mention all 5 of them, and we'll be chewing on this for the next couple days until Wednesday.
So yeah, let's talk about procedure there then. So then you'll kind of finalize on Wednesday. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you the 5 people who I'm gonna choose 3 from.
Okay, so as I say, I'll be stable in these 2 nominations here, and then as I say, Commissioner there. Speak for herself, but I'm just letting you know. So then we'll reconvene on Wednesday, and that's the time that you'll be clear on the 3.
Yeah. Okay. Remind me, I'm not gonna do it right now, but remind me at the end to just mention something about the potential designated meeting time, because I wanted to comment on that. But to focus in on potential nominees, so I have 5 people, again, each of which brings something to these, something to the the goals of representation, geography, party, urban, rural, et cetera. And they are from the top, my first nominee is Mayor Melanie Keebler. Early on in our discussions, I was allocated 3 appointments, while you each chose to take 2, and the reason given for that was, well, you're from Bend, and a lot of people live in Bend. Well, actually, half of the population of our county lives in Bend. And feeling like I was given these appointments specifically, the way I interpreted all that was, make sure, I needed to make sure that, that Bend was represented on this committee, and in my mind, who better to represent the city of Bend on this committee than the mayor? So, that's one of the first reasons I would put forward Melanie Keebler. I would also say, to go back to the concept that over 70% of the county's population live in incorporated cities, and so Melanie can bring that incorporated city perspective. There's also been some questions about whether we are going to allocate districts based on total population or based on population of registered voters. So I thought it would be really helpful to have someone on the committee who has minor children. So they could actually, bring that perspective that, a child isn't 2/5 of a person, our community, our city and county are there to serve all of the residents of Deschutes County. So that's one. Second nomination is Andrew Kaza, who lives in the Redmond area and owns a business in Sisters. Andrew is a member of the state council of the Independent Party of Oregon. As such, I think he would be very able to represent the interests of the over a third of Deschutes County residents or Deschutes County registered voters who are neither Democrats or Republicans. As we know, there are more people who are not registered D or R than there are either Ds or Rs. And for a long time, we had partisan commissioner elections where basically people who weren't registered with one of the major parties got short shrift in terms of being able to nominate forward and ultimately vote for candidates. My third nominee is Carol Leshy, who is past president of the Deschutes County League of Women Voters. As we all know, the League of Women Voters is an organization that is deeply committed to making democracy work and committed to good government. The election of these districts is a real opportunity to support democracy and election processes that will result in leaders for our community that really reflect and represent the people of Deschutes County. And so I'm really pleased that Carol was interested in serving on this committee. She's also a Bend resident, so brings that geography and urban rural perspective. Fifth on the list is
Who's fourth?
Fourth on the list is Jim Porter. Jim Porter, we all know as a long time, a lifelong resident of Deschutes County, dedicated public servant, occupies that kind of rare moderate space in the political spectrum, and lives in the rural just outside of that. My fifth My fifth nominee is Bryce Kellogg, who also kind of he's, beyond wanting to make sure that there were people with minor children on, on this committee. Well, one of the things that Bryce would bring is, being, a recently married younger person, for whom children is probably still like just a twinkle in the eye. Bryce is also a geographic information systems and spatial data analysis expert. So to the extent that this committee is gonna be looking at precinct maps and all kinds of numbers, Bryce would be able to bring that kind of technical aptitude to the committee and complement the committee that way. So those are my 5 potential nominees, and I'll come back with 3 of those on Wednesday. If the 4 that the 2 of you have put forward are your final appointees, then that'll make it easier for me to sort that out.
Great.
And I do want to mention the very most importance of the map, so this group will be designing. As someone who lived in Los Angeles County for 31 years, if you can believe it, with over 10 million people, we in LA County had 5 districts. I don't believe I ever heard about the districts being changed, but each district was over 2 million voters in each, or population, 2 million in each one, and you had your one supervisor. So I just wanted to say how important it is that we do have districts. If you live in the city of Bend, you have your representation from the city council. But if you live in the country, it might be a minority, but it's definitely, there are our citizens, our residents, and they should be recognized with what their needs and wants are. So, yeah, LA County, who would have known? 5 supervisors.
For return back to the meeting time and place topic, I know that at least one of my nominees is not able to meet on Tuesday evenings. So I wanted to put in a plug for us to be able to have this committee meet at a time that works for the 7 people that are ultimately appointed.
Remember you're proposing we had to do something like 15 people, so it's good we're not going down that path maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, I've already told my people that it's Tuesday night, so they already were aware.
But I mentioned Tuesday nights, not like a hard commitment or anything, but, so, I mean, would you want the Board of Commissioners to set the time, or what committee?
No, I want to constitute a committee and for them to
Yeah,
just
then
figure out
that's fine.
time
Yep.
amongst themselves.
And then Wednesday, we're gonna reconvene on this subject.
Right.
And a little bit of more content about, do we want to set direction to, as an input to the committee for the deliverables we're expecting.
Correct. On Wednesday, we'll finalize the appointments to the committee and then also discuss the guidelines to the committee, which does set direction for their work. And to the point of the meeting time and date, we want to make sure that works for everybody. For example, the second, 4th Thursdays of the month for the Cyber Planning Commission. So we had talked about that Tuesday, the Thursday night, sorry. Thank
Yes,
you.
they're
We just want to
Thursdays.
make sure that it works for everybody and maybe.
I'm listening.
Yep, yeah, I was looking at too many documents, everybody at the same time as I was speaking.
He does babysit on Tuesdays, but he said he could work that out, so he watches his grandchildren.
But we want to make sure.
Yeah, you know, he's
I mean,
would be happy to change it.
Great.
So yeah, we'll discuss this more on Wednesday. Okay, well, that worked out.
Really well.
Yeah. Great. Anything else for that topic?
Oh my God, we're still on time.
And we're on, right on time.
Whoa.
Okay, next is Treasury. Item number 6. Treasury. It's interesting when you hear the kind of business talk about the Fed rate and the headline for the president talking about it. How, so, and when I say that, because it came to mind what you said a year and a half ago was higher for longer, right? And that, somebody mentioned that in passing at one of the radio or something, I was like, oh, that's exactly what was stated a year and a half ago. And now it's kind of, he said, she said, but that was what was stated in the past.
Great lead-in, great topic. Good afternoon, commissioners. For the record, Bill Coon, Deschutes County Treasurer. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity to present the June Treasurer's Report. I'll cover a couple of economic topics. I know Commissioner DeBonne, you mentioned it's been 3 weeks since we've last met, and there's been a lot that's happened during that period of time. I think the most important thing is just kind of rehashing on July 3rd, actually July 4th, the morning of July 4th, President Trump signed into legislation the funding reconciliation package known as the One Big Bill.
Big Beautiful. Don't forget
Big
the-
Beautiful, yeah, Need to add beautiful as well. You're absolutely correct. Key components of this bill included continuation of the 2017 tax credits that were scheduled to expire later this year. Also includes legislation covering no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security, significant modernization of the air traffic control system, increasing the child tax credit, completing the border wall, and increased spending on defense, and also mentioned some key cuts are scheduled to Medicaid programs, adding a work requirement, increased tracking of eligibility, et cetera, and also lower provider taxes, which states use to fund their share of Medicaid taxes. That's scheduled, I believe, over 3 years to step down from the current rate of 6% to 3.5%, and also cuts to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP. So that's out there as well. And there's some others to be defined.
And a determination by the Congressional Budget Office that it will add $3.4 trillion to our debt.
And that was actually my next comment. That was kind of spooky. That's an estimate, and that was actually over, I believe, a 10-year period. But they're estimating, like Commissioner Chang said, 3 to 4 million added to the federal deficit. Previously reported, one significant issue that was addressed by Congress in this funding package was the current federal debt ceiling, which I've been talking about for months. That there was a looming cliff that we were approaching. They estimated sometime in August. And the funding package includes an increase to the current cap from 36 trillion to 41.6 trillion. And that will reduce the federal government's reliance upon extraordinary measures, which they've been using over the last several months to avoid tripping that debt ceiling. And anyway, that did remove a significant fiscal issue moving on the horizon. So that was part of that package. Last week, and this was late last week, President Trump revived his tariff war, unilaterally setting minimum tariff rates of anywhere from 20 to 40% for many of the major U.S. trading partners. And this included Mexico and the European community. This was done despite setting an August 1st deadline for separate negotiations with various countries. And then over the weekend, I saw where it was reported that the EU was planning a retaliation package in the event of failed negotiations. So tariffs are still front and center. Hasn't that kind of major overarching issue hasn't been resolved yet. And that has weighed heavily upon the economy and decision makers. Various varying tariff announcements have whipsawed financial markets over the past few weeks. Altogether, it's estimated these imposed tariffs would generate 2.5 trillion in revenue over 10 years, but possibility of reduced U.S. GDP by 0.8%, all before foreign retaliation. And again, these are estimates. This is just kind of looking at the reality and projected results from some of these actions that are being proposed. What's interesting in the latest data release, and I've mentioned this actually for the last several months, is that many businesses are continuing to absorb higher costs right now associated with the tariffs as opposed to passing them on to their customers, but options are dwindling because of reduced inventory levels. So at some point they're going to have to pass increased costs on. But as of or through the end of June, it appeared that they're insulating a lot of their clients from those increase in purchasing costs. Again, an estimate, a modest pass-through could result in a 3.5% increase in goods prices by year end, which is estimated to potentially increase inflation above that 3% threshold by the end of the year. And so that's being tracked very closely. The June CPI report indicated that inflation was increasing 2.7% year over year, so it has ticked up a couple of tenths of percent. This is the largest increase since January. And what's contrary to that is the producer price index remained flat at 2.3% for the month of June. And this is the price that producers are paying for their goods, not necessarily the end consumer. So again, we're seeing kind of two different sides of the inflationary discussion. And I know these results are being tracked very closely by the Fed right now. There's varying opinions on tariff initiatives and the likely outcome for economic activity and inflation, with what is perceived to be slowing growth right now, and especially in the first half of the year, along with elevated inflation. This will likely force the Fed to slow any further reductions in rates. Reflecting this uncertainty, the Fed is likely to leave rates unchanged at its next meeting, which is July 29th and 30th. So right now, I think there's somewhere between a 20 and 25% chance of a rate reduction at the end of July. Much higher estimates later in the year. And they're still looking at anywhere, they're still saying potentially a 50 basis point rate cut between now and the end of the year. But I've heard recent forecasts assuming potentially only one rate cut. So a lot of that depends on what happens over the next several months and what impact, again, the Fed's dual mandate of, keeping inflation under control, but maintaining full employment. And that's a challenging kind of a fine line that they walk in terms of trying to do that. The bellwether 10-year US Treasury yield has increased to actually, let me back up, that the 10-year rate has increased to 6.75% over the past month due to economic volatility. This was up from 6.49% last month. So it's ticked up about almost 30 basis points, which is a fairly large increase. And this is also important as most long-term mortgage rates are priced using this index. Related to the economy, US jobs growth for the month of June reported 147,000 jobs, which surpassed expectations of 125,000 new jobs. As we've seen previously, this number will likely be revised as more data comes in. So they'll report the number initially and they'll go back and kind of review additional
They've
data.
actually added to the last two jobs numbers. They haven't taken away. They have added.
Have
Like
they?
6,000, yes, for
Yeah.
for 2 months.
So
So
I
I
take
know
the
we used to
current-
go down, but they actually are going up.
Yeah, and I take the current jobs growth number with a little bit of a grain of salt because of the prior month adjustment that typically takes place after that data has been released. Conversely, the unemployment rate dropped slightly to 4.1%. And this slightly stronger than expected jobs report suggests a resilient economy heading into Q3, leading the Fed to monitor tariff activity, which I think is a big driver right now on future economic growth. And it was interesting this month, the surprising areas of strength of the job report were in local and state government hiring. And the hits were actually taken in the private sector, where I think most of the concern regarding potential job economic slowing is occurring, and they typically are out ahead of it, and they'll be cutting jobs in anticipation of potentially seeing a slowdown in the economy.
And it'll be, our next report talks about our open positions, but it does seem like this would be a good option. The open positions across our organization would be a good option for somebody. So maybe people will come in a little bit more aggressive.
Could be, yeah. I think the other employment opportunities out there are being somewhat diminished. So I think there'd be, maybe stronger interest or demand for some of those open positions than what we're seeing. And then the other issue that's kind of out there in the future is what happens with potential additional cuts at the federal government level. And that's certainly being discussed right now. And there may be another kind of right sizing occurring at the federal government level over the next 3 to 6 months. One other area that I've been focused on is economic barometer to watch is consumer confidence. And this actually retreated 5 points in June. And again, this is underlying ongoing concerns regarding current business and labor market conditions. So that's just a broad, kind of a survey of consumers in different areas of the country, basically talking about how confident they are in the future. And this is basically looking at the next 3 to 6 months is what they typically ask. So getting into housing starts actually rose 4.6% in June, which surpassed the 3.5% gain expected, and it pulled the annual rate up from 1.26 million starts to 1.32 million starts, and this was actually a 2-month high. So a lot of conflicting economic data out there, and very challenging situation right now for the Fed in terms of how they view interest rates going forward, and if and when they start cutting rates. So at a regional level, typically provide data on several markets within Deschutes County. The June Bend single-family residential market showed a median sales price softened significantly to $693,000 in June, which was down from $772,000 in May, and really an all-time high of $832,000 in April. So we're starting to see kind of the real-time impact and influence on the housing market here locally. Inventory levels in the Bend market have gone to a 5-year supply, or excuse me, a 5-month supply. And that's up sharply from earlier this year. And just a couple of other things. We had a total of 166 sales for the month of June, and only 30 of these sales were above $1 million. We're starting to see price adjustments bringing pricing down below $1 million, and also obviously more activity on homes that are priced below $1 million as well. 48 of these were cash sales. Let's see, note Bend area single family building permits slipped to 48 in June, which was down sharply from 78 in April. The Redmond statistics saw a stable price, median price of $530,000 in June. So really not a lot of price adjustment in the Redmond market. And that was compared to $514,000 in May. So the average median sales price has actually gone up a little bit in June. Redmond area permits were only 9 for the month of June, which is down sharply from 27 for the prior month. And sales in the Redmond market, as indicated, have stabilized over the last few months, and it really does correlate to kind of increasing economic growth in the area. It's really been the job creator for Deschutes County. A lot of the new jobs, especially in the manufacturing sector, have been created in the Redmond market. Some other markets within Deschutes County, Sisters had a $679,000 median sales price on 14 sales. Sun River had an $869,000 median price on 11 sales, and Lapine came in at $390,000. So.
Are those down or level?
What's that?
And are those up, down?
Those were actually, all 3 of them were down from the prior month. Yeah, down again. Sun River and Sisters are small markets, typically don't have a lot of sales on a monthly basis, so a few larger sales or smaller sales can drive those numbers pretty significantly.
Is this the average or the median?
Oh, that's a median.
Okay.
Half above and half below.
Below, right.
Yeah.
That's the number you want.
Simple average. Yeah. Without further ado, I'll dive into the June Treasurer's Report. Portfolio balance at the end of the month stood at $323 million, which was a decrease of $19.7 million from May. This decline was primarily due to large tax turnover and ongoing funding needs. Net investment earnings were $1,045,000 for the month, which was $71,000 lower than last month's earnings, but $232,000 higher than a year ago. We are starting to see, or have seen, the impact of of small reduction in short-term rates, although rates in both the short-term LGIP pool and also our FIB rate have actually remained fairly consistent since the end of the year. All portfolio category balances are well within policy guidelines. As indicated, the LGIP rate has remained at 4.6% for the month, which has been flat since very early this year. And the FIB rate has been at 4.25%. Overall portfolio yields continue to increase and are now 4.3. I want to double check that.
37.
Yeah, 4.3. 4.37%. Just wanted to make sure I had that number correct. And the overall yield is being positively impacted by a large number of redemptions and lower yielding aged investments. We've been talking about that for a few months now. And we have been keeping higher balances in the LGIP pool, which has also driven up our weighted yield as well. As I previously reported, we still have a large kind of a pool of investments yielding a sub 1% that will mature by the end of 2025. Majority of those are actually coming due in August, and we've got about 18 million scheduled for redemption in August. And surplus funds from those redemptions will be either reinvested in our LGIP pool, or actually my goal is to extend out the maturity ladder to beyond 3 years. So I will likely be doing some fairly significant investing after those redemptions come in August. And again, a lot of that depends on our cash flow needs between now and when we start receiving tax receipts in October. But this should continue to improve the overall portfolio yield, which has gone up fairly significantly over the last few months. I also wanted to mention that I did reinvest $8 million in short-term funds last month to match the revised funding needs for the courthouse project. So the 5-year maturity distribution that you see as part of the packet actually reflects these recent investments. Now, what I did was I invested specifically in December through March of 2026 to ensure that we had appropriate funding there to cover the expected draws off the construction project. And with recent investment activity, the portfolio now has a weighted term to maturity of 0.98 years, with a maximum maturity standing right at 3 years right now. And I expect to be able to push that maximum maturity date out at least a few more months once I get done with the investing over the next several months. We continue to keep a higher level, or have kept a higher level of short-term liquidity to buffer any short-term disruptions in payments. And again, the bulk of these short-term funds are yielding the LGIP rate of 4.6%.
So we're down to almost, well, less than 40 million in that LGIP. So we just didn't have any extra funds to put it in to get it up to the 61 million at this moment in time.
Put in additional funds where?
Well, we didn't have any funds that we could have moved over to LGIP then to get that 4.6.
We have been keeping the majority of our funds in the LGIP fund as opposed to FIB.
Okay,
with the reduction in rate.
Well, at month end, it was only 39,000.
Yeah.
I know, because that looks like a good return.
Yeah, it is. It's a great return. And again, it makes, as we invest, we're investing in a lower yield right now, but pushing the maturity date out to capture that yield. But it really, it's a good problem to have, because we're actually yielding a higher rate in our short-term overnight investments than we are by being able to invest out, 3 years and beyond. Those 3-year yields right now are slightly below 4%. So that's kind of my expectation when I do a little bit of investing over the next 1 to 2 months.
Is that inverted yield curve? Is that the environment we're in?
We have been in it for quite some time. Yeah. Short-term rates have been for, I'd say, probably about 2 years, have been longer or higher than longer-term yields. So you typically would get a premium for locking funds in longer term, and we have not had that premium for quite some time.
And then 4 or 5 years gets above 4.6 or not?
No, it continues to go down. Yeah, when you're looking at that yield curve, it's a pretty steady progression downwards beyond 2 years. Yeah, and that's the kind of the world that we live in right now.
What do inverted yield curves typically signal?
Well, they could potentially indicate a pending recession, but we haven't seen that. And last month, the Consumer Confidence Board, actually, there were comments in their monthly discussion with regards to the potential for a looming recession, which were removed in this month's comments. So there's a lot of conflicting economic indicators out there, and it just, if it was crystal clear, I think we'd be able to make a lot cleaner decisions, especially based on kind of rates and the economy. But I think the Fed has frankly got the work cut out for them over the next several months in terms of trying to navigate through some really choppy waters.
Well, the excellent news is we had
Threats
over
of
$12
firing.
million. We have over $12 million in investment income this year today.
Yeah, we have definitely benefited over the last 2
Right.
years from,
Yes.
the rise in short-term rates and a significant increase in longer-term rates compared to where we were during COVID.
Or let's
So
go
a
back
lot
and
of the
compare.
investments that are maturing in August were made in August of 2020. And the rate environment at that time was slightly above zero.
Yes,
So,
yes, right above zero.
yeah. Anyway, any other
Thank you very
questions?
much.
Awesome.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, thank you.
Item number 7, preliminary finance report for June. This is 100% of the year now.
That's right.
Preliminarily.
Right, for the record, Robert Tintel, Chief Financial Officer. Thank you for long Monday afternoon and welcome back as well. So as you rightfully said, preliminary is the key word here. This is a report for June, which is our 12th month of the fiscal year. However, it is preliminary and these numbers actually have already changed by now because this report was prepared a couple of weeks ago in anticipation of the schedule to get online. So these numbers are reflective of where we're at. But one of the main items, one of the main expenditures that hasn't been captured in this report yet is our payroll costs for the last 9 days of the month from June 21st through June 30th, because we get paid that, at July 30th. So we'll accrue back those wages. Since the county, a lot of our costs are personnel costs. That is a major cost that's not reflective yet in the actual columns. But as we go through these reports, that's why we concentrate on the projection columns, because departments have built into the projection column all the expenditures that they anticipate that will capture through the actual end of the fiscal year when we accrue back all expenditures. So just wanted to highlight that. And as stated, yes, 100% of the fiscal year is what these report, but again, just not capturing all expenditures yet in the actuals column. Our FTE, page 45 in your packet. So we did end the fiscal year at 10.27 of unfilled, which again is consistent with the last 3 years. We typically comment on 911 as well, and you'll see that as Sarah had mentioned last month, she was watching. I don't know if she's watching this month, but
She always is.
they did go back down to 5, so they filled 2 of those positions, which is good news for them. And again, it was another month of no FTE change, total FTE changes in the month from the prior month as well. And so you'll see the final totals there.
Which I noticed that half of the victim's assistant almost it's empty. They're supposed to be 9.5 and we're down to 5.5.
Yeah, that is,
there.
yes.
I mean, it went up 2, 3, 4, yes. That just kind of stood out at me.
Yes.
And then I thought actually really good news was the sheriff's office hired 6 people. So they're down to 34.5 in today's uncertainty. And I thought, well, that's actually a really good sign. That, people are still getting their job there.
Yeah, because I think I mentioned at one time when it was in February, it was at 38.5, and that was the first time they were below 40 in a while. So yeah, to get down to 34.5, that's the lowest it's been in quite a while.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
For this whole year.
Yeah, even last year.
Right, even last year. Okay, great. So congratulations. Thank you for those people that are taking those jobs. Appreciate it.
Okay, next page 46, it's the total personnel and overtime report. And so again, this is where you'll see, especially in personnel costs, the second column, which is actual column compared to projected. And you'll see the actual column in most all these cases, probably except for one, is lower than the projected. Actually, they all should be the actual cost because we haven't accrued back and posted those last 9 days yet. That's why projected's higher. You'll see a red X there. There's only one fund, 616, that is projecting their total personnel costs will be higher than their budget. However, that's not a concern because this is a management fund. It's broken out. But when we run the fairs, they have 4 or 5 funds. They all roll up together. So when we roll them up, there is no budget violation and all their costs are rolled up together. So we're no concerns on that. And of the 7 funds are over in their overtime budget. That's where you see the red X in that overtime column. 3 of these are small amounts, but they're in total, all of these, their total personnel costs will be under, so there'll be no budget violations there. And as usual, the sheriff's office and 911 are the biggest users of overtime, and they're both under budget as well. So again, I'll just be highlighting some of the changes from last month as we could go through these reports. I'm going to go to page 51, the general fund. Good news, I'll start with resources at the top. Resources, the projections that we have for the ending fund, ending resources have increased by 500,000 over where we estimated last year. A lot of that has to do with interest earnings, and then we still received additional taxes in. That we more than what we were anticipating, so that helps. And a slight increase in the district attorney due to increase in state grant revenue over their budget. Under the resources, the requirements section is additional, it's about the same, just about additional savings of $50,000, so not a lot there, but that's mostly due to vacancy savings from them. Transfers, we had a slight increase. Transfers out of $50,000. So net ending fund balance from the general fund is an increase of 500,000 over last month, which again, that's the right direction. If we're moving our projections, it's better that we're anticipating a little more revenue ending fund balance than what we had originally thought we might end up last month. And again, these are, as I'll say throughout, but I won't repeat it too often, these are preliminary numbers and they will change. As you notice in the first column here, first 2 columns, you'll see fiscal year 24. As we start to move into presenting July or August, September, you will see fiscal year 25 there. So we'll see those numbers change for actuals as we present each month, because in 2 or 3 months we'll be accruing back expenses. Okay, juvenile justice. Fund 030, they had an ending fund balance net decrease of 97,000 over what they projected last month. Revenue increased about 27,000, and the requirements increase of 125,000, and those are in their personnel costs. Excuse me. They're projecting more of. TRT fund, page 53 in your packet.
Oh, I do have a question.
Yes.
How much was the health council grant then for, it went into miscellaneous, was it? Do you remember how much it was? Was it like 125,000 or something?
Yeah, I'd have to follow up on the health
I mean,
council.
it seemed kind of,
It's within those numbers.
okay.
Okay, TRT fund. So these are the final numbers that we've gotten in and posted. And we will see our revenue has increased by another 29,000 from what we projected. So the final number for the first line under resources is 12.5 million. You might recall we originally had budgeted 12.1 million, but you'll see now the budget number shows 12.3 because when Cam, our budget and financial planning manager, came to adjust our expenditures, we recognized more expenditures, and in that same time with budget, we recognized more revenue because we know the fund has to balance. So we ended up at about 12.5 million on our room taxes for revenue. Our projections are pretty consistent. The only thing that we changed here is in the middle of the transfer out section, Transfers out general county reserve, and that ended up at 873,000. Originally, we had budgeted 921. That's the balance or the catch-all. Once we take all our revenues and our expenditures, the remaining gets transferred to the county general fund, except for the 1.5 million that we're keeping in the fund. And again, that's that debt service. So any leftover goes to the county general fund, again, because this is the only fund now in our new budgets that provide a contribution to the county general fund reserve. And so it's 873,000, so a little less than we budgeted, but $47,000 difference from budget. So it's, I think our budget office did a great job projecting these numbers when, and it's good that it's higher, and we were hoping it would be because we were purposely budgeting conservatively, same with this new year. But overall, again, the fund is about where we thought it would be. Room tax revenue ended up 1.3% from fiscal year 24 actuals and up 3.6% compared to budget. ARPA fund 200, no change from last month, so I'm gonna skip past that. Same with Justice Court. Sheriff's Office, page 56 in your packet, fund 255. Their resources, the top section, their revenues increased by about 624,000 compared to last month, and that's due to their receiving 212,000 in taxes additional to get caught up to actuals today, and other 300,000 in sheriff's office revenues and 86,000 additional in interest. On their requirements section, their expenditures, they have an increased savings, so reduce their costs of $400,000, and those are mostly due to vacancy savings. Even though they still added positions, they were still achieving significant vacancy savings this year. So a net increase in their ending fund balance by over 1 million compared to last month. So they budgeted they'd end the fiscal year at 16.3 million, and right now they're projecting $21.5 million.
That's really outstanding.
So that's much better.
Right, they are going the right way.
That's right.
So appreciative.
Absolutely.
How much of that is vacancy savings?
Of their, I don't have the exact amount, but they're under the requirements, it's 4.7 million is their total savings. Most of that is from vacancy savings. We don't have the exact breakout in this report, but a lot of it is in their personnel costs.
Yeah.
There will be savings in M&S and capital because they have experienced savings in those areas too, but the majority is personnel costs. Health Services Fund 274 on page 57 in your packet. Before we get to that fund, I'll just mention Fund 270, the OHP reserves. Their actual ending fund balance in that as of June was 33.2 million. They're projecting by once the end of the year, everything gets posted and their transfers between their funds occur, they'll land at 36.3 million. Their original budget was 28 million. So their reserve, they're still healthy for that right now. And again, they have plans for that in the budget year.
And what is that, what fund number is that one?
270.
270.
Yes. So overall, and this first page 57 is all their programs combined. Their revenues saw an increase of 472,000. Their expenses increased as well by 484,000. Less transfers to the OHP fund, which is that fund 270, by 213,000. So their ending fund balance changed just by 225,000. So a lot of activity moving in and out, but overall ending fund balance was only 225,000 difference. So now as we break it out, their first fund 274, their admin fund on page 58, it only decreased by 89,000, not a major change there. But as we look at behavioral health on the next page, 59, they did see that this is where the majority of the changes in the overall, it occurred in the behavioral health, because that's where they saw their revenues increase by 466,000. Most of it was due to OHP capitation increase. They're projecting of $183,000 more, and 119,000 in state miscellaneous revenue, and 98,000 from state and local grants. So increases in those areas. And then in their total requirements, their expenses, they also increased by about $402,000, and of that, $260,000 was personnel costs, the rest was M&S changes. So their net decrease in the ending fund balance from last month was $149,000, but they're still projecting to end the year at 4.1 million, which is greater than the 2.9 or basically 3 million that they had budgeted in that fund, so 1.1 million more. Health Services, Public Health Fund 274 on the next page. Their net increase in ending fund balance just changed from last month by $14,000, so little change in the revenue and expenditures, so not a whole major change there. Community Development on page 61, I was just going to see, and who do we have with us? Okay, Community Development. Their report is here. Again, at the bottom line, their ending fund balance, they always have their target. They want to end their ending fund balance at $1 million. This comes down 996. So they're right about on target, getting that number there with their projections. So the year-end projections have been updated to reflect current revenue collections and stable permitting volumes. The revenue projections are 518,000 more than the original budget, and it accounts for commercial project revenue. And then the expenditure projections are 409,000 less than the original budget. And most of that's due to personnel costs due to Oregon paid leave and unfilled positions, and then also reduced materials and supplies. Road, they had some increases in their revenues, a little increase in their expenditures, but they still increased their ending fund balance by 269,000. According to their last report, and so they're still coming 1.9 million ahead of their ending fund balance with their budget as well. Page 63, adult P&P, no changes on that fund. Road CIP, Fund 465, that's page 64. This one, they did adjust their projections in their capital outlay section, which is the major expenditure in this fund, and they had budgeted 16 million. They're projecting only to spend 8.3 by the end of the year. So that's 2.4 million less than they had reported last year. So as they updated, refined their numbers, so this fund will end up having an increase in their ending fund balance of 2.4 million over what we projected last month because of their updated numbers. Solid waste.
It looked like on
Yep.
the CIP, the fund, the summary, it looked like there were like 3 projects that are still significantly going to be funded that didn't happen, like it was like one of them has almost 4 million, and one of them has 2.2 million that hasn't been spent, and the other one's 2.2, so.
And a lot of these, as you know, they'll carry the projects over.
Right, I know,
into the next year,
it was like, they had them down for this year, and I was thinking like they were actually gonna get them done this year. We saw in the summer. So that they could get them done this month, next month, right?
Yeah. So a lot of this is timing also between crossover
Right,
between
crossover
June and July.
Yes, tax years, calendar years.
Yep. Solid Waste, Fund 610 on page 66, their revenue projections remain the same. However, they decreased their expectations for their expenditures or their requirements by 305,000, mostly in M&S and capital outlay. So that the net increase in their ending fund balance, as it turns out, is about 351,000, but on target for where they were expecting to be. They're still ending up over budget in their projections from where they thought they would be in their ending fund balance by about $2.2 million. Fair and Expo, a net decrease in their ending fund balance by 151,000. That's largely due to an increase in their expense projections. So as they refined those, that it did change there, but again, not majorly, but they're still coming ahead of what their budget was for their projections. Page 68 in your packet, annual fair, no, it's similar to last month, no change there. Same with their broken out fund according to on a calendar basis. And the capital reserve is also similar. We're gonna flip ahead because the RV park and the reserve, it's similar to last month, no changes from what we previously reported. all the way to risk management, Fund 670, page 73 in your packet. Not a major change here, but their resources did increase by $67,000 as they project out their final revenues coming in, but their expenses decreased, which is the right direction, by $356,000 in their projections as well. So their ending fund balance, though, had a difference of $423,000. Sorry about that. So they're projecting to end at 7.3 million, which is higher than the 5.9 originally budgeted. So coming in about 1.4 million higher than anticipated to the budget when we get the final results. Health Benefits Fund 675. This
Is this a happy story or?
it
what?
is a happy story. Again, it's still not final,
I know.
so I'm not going to give the happy dance yet, but
It's way
but I
better.
can start warming up now because we're getting so much closer. This is good. Our final revenue projections project 957,000 under budget. In the revenue, the first line, sorry, internal premium charges, you'll see that we're under our budget projections for that, and that's due to vacancy savings. So if a position or a vacant position, if a position is vacant, we don't charge that position health insurance premiums because we're not incurring costs while we don't have an employee in that position. So if it's vacant, we don't charge it for it. So for example, the 40 positions within the sheriff's office, they're all, or when they were at 40, they're not filled, so we're not charging premiums for those positions that aren't filled because we don't have those 40 employees and belly buttons on our plan incurring costs. So that's why you see under revenue projections in the internal premium charges, which are the department charges. But overall, so we're under revenue by $900,000, but our expenditures, that middle section under requirements, we are projecting to be $3.2 million under our budget on expenditures, which is good. So that brings us down to the bottom. Our actuals, in the middle there, at the moment, we're at 12.1 million. But again, we haven't accrued or charged everything back. So we're hoping by the end of the year, we anticipate it'll now be at 10.1 million. Again, our goal is 8 million based on our previous liability threshold, but then also a reserve. But also, this is where we've gotten most of the claims in now, and they'll just be the residuals that will be coming in. And so we are favorable that it will be $10.1 million. So above our target, but we'll see where that lands by the end of the year, but we're more confident in this now as a closer number than the 8.5 that at one time we were projecting. And the last fund, 911, it's similar to last month, no changes there. Again, it is still coming in, their projections by the end of the year. Ending fund balance ending higher than what they anticipated by 979,000, which again is in the right direction. As we know, they've had vacancy savings as well, and they're projecting $691,000 in personnel savings.
I give her a star. Sarah, I gave you a star.
There you go.
She's, yes, right
Oh,
on.
and I should have mentioned Jana Kane, our controller, who is starting to co-present with me. We're now entering the audit season, so it's a very busy time. So she's taken a hiatus from presenting with me, but hopefully come January, we'll start incorporating her to come back and speak to you all again as well. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, other items, there will be executive session today also. Yeah, go ahead if you got something.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Just the Board of Commissioners is scheduled to appoint a new sheriff next Tuesday, July 29th at 9 a.m. The background checks are in process right now. And I just want to check in with you as a full body. If there's anything that the staff can do to help support you as you consider making this appointment in terms of scheduling either individual meetings, anything that any public meetings you would like to schedule to consider this prior to July 29th. We're here to support you, recognizing this is solely your decision. So I just open that up for your any direction you have, if any.
Great, thanks for bringing that up, yeah, so this is in preparation for that next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. It looks like I'm gonna be able to come up with kind of a first choice, second choice situation, I think, that's what I'm thinking right now. But obviously, it'll be the three of us trying to find common ground or whatever we're gonna do, so any other thoughts?
After attending the candidate forum that the Sheriff's Employees Association put on, after reading the statement, I have a couple of questions. I still have a couple of questions I'd like to ask, at least a few of the candidates. And I wanted to offer that, I think that they're questions that would be interesting for all of us to hear the responses to, so wanted to put out the possibility of basically the three of us asking the candidates, the finalists, a couple of questions in a group, a public meeting. Things like, and some of the questions I wanted to ask were, I just wanted to ask people about serving as the interim sheriff in a year before an election, what they would do to ensure that we have a good, clean, election with, opportunities for anyone who wants to be a candidate, to make their case to the community. We've had some really bad dynamics around elections in the past, and the person who's serving as an interim sheriff is, is in a position to, set up, kind of create a much more healthy environment for an election, or, in the worst case scenarios, to sort of, promote the people that they want, including themselves if they're interested in running, or suppress people who they don't, they're not excited about. So I really want to know what whoever serves as an interim sheriff is going to do to ensure we have a good, clean, fair election with opportunity for everybody next year. I want to ask, the candidates, there's some great candidates, and they have, each one of them has something great to offer. But not all of them, I don't think any of them have the entire package, to serve as interim sheriff right now. So they're gonna need advisors, they're gonna need, experts who can coach them on specific aspects of the sheriff's office. And, I wanna ask them point blank, who are you going to bring in to advise you or coach you or mentor you, to support you if you serve? Because I wanna know that we're gonna get, a complete enough package that we get a real solid interim sheriff. Again, they all have amazing things to offer, but there's also things that I'm concerned about with just about anybody who has put their name forward. At the forum, there was only a little bit of discussion about budget, the resources available, living within their means, and there was all kinds of discussion about, things that we would, the various candidates would love to do for the sheriff's office or provide for their employees if they were given the chance. And I kind of feel like I'd like to dig a little bit more into that, just to make sure that people have a very realistic sense of what they have to work with, and all the demands for those funds, and how to make strategic decisions and prioritize. So those are just a few examples of things I would like to ask the candidates. I think it would be valuable, again, for all three of us to hear responses to those questions. I think it'd be valuable for the public to hear responses to those questions, to make this as open and transparent of a process as possible for the community. There's a pitch, and at the same time, I have pretty limited time in the next week when I'm available. I have to go over to Salem late Wednesday afternoon, be there all day for the Oregon Transportation Commission, they're having an emergency meeting. I'll have a little bit of time on Friday morning. But when I asked Nick about this, he said, well, we are having a Monday meeting too, so that'd be another opportunity. But at least wanted to put that out there. If there's not interest in doing that in a group public way, I can just, arrange with candidates to do individual interviews with them, but that's want to at least offer the opportunity.
Great, thank you. Any comments, Commissioner?
Oh, I think I've spent hours talking to our candidates. I'm so appreciative and thankful that we've had some outstanding people step up for this opportunity to serve as interim, which is, I believe, 18 months. And I'm just glad we are actually doing real background checks, because I think it's, we can't afford to have any more surprises. The good news is the financial statements today show that at year end, the sheriff's office is in much better shape. And we still know that we need some of those 34 people that are on the vacancy savings. We need some of those to be filled, because we're kind of set at a lower level than I think we need. I was just thinking about this weekend, listening to people that serve work, like from 9 to 9 plus, overtime on Saturday. And then we had that incident at Dillon Falls, and Search and Rescue has been down there working, and yeah, so, the demands, and especially this time of year. So I couldn't do anything unless we had time on Monday, Monday to ask them some questions. Maybe they could come on Zoom or something during our meeting, I don't know.
My thought is that we just do our own homework on that, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any, I've spent a
Just
lot.
because, it'd be a lot more flexibility, just make some phone calls, do some talking. I've scheduled up with each and talk to everybody, and I'll do a little bit more of that. So I'm just hesitant to dive in and putting a 5-person forum on in front of 3 commissioners at this short time. But I'm envisioning the logistics of that.
We can narrow the field. To simplify it a little bit, but that's fine.
Well,
I'll just do my own.
and we're just talking about where we're trying to set up for next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, Dave had pointed out, we shall appoint, it's not like we can't do this, but it's okay if it doesn't happen before July 1st too. So if we get, kind of wrapped up a little bit, we'll just take another step after that too. But as I said, I'll be prepared for discussion on Tuesday. Any other thoughts?
That sounds fine.
Yeah.
I'll do a couple of individual interviews before Tuesday.
Yeah, as I said, and I did watch I was out of town during that Sheriff's Association forum, but I did watch it from end to end, watch the whole darn thing. So thank you very much for putting that on. Thanks for attending. It was great to be able to hear from the folks. And obviously the Final Five is a little different now, but it worked out real well being able to watch it remotely.
And I will mention that a lot of community input has gone into my junk folder, and I have not checked my junk today yet, but that's what was happening last week. So I tried to get back to everyone and appreciate hearing from you all. And if you haven't heard from me, send me another email, please, and hopefully it will go to my main email account and not junk. So anyway, no, thank you, everyone. I know that our community is incredibly engaged, and it's a tremendous responsibility, and that's why I am relieved that I think we have excellent quality of candidates. And yet, I was around a lot of people that worked in the state police this weekend, and oh my gosh, listening to them. So, and I want to thank Travis Hampton, who is retired, who lives in Redmond, who has given a lot of really good advice. So I appreciate hearing from everyone.
And if I could just check, just to be 100% certain on this, I would very much prefer for us to appoint someone who's not going to run for sheriff in 2026. but, you know, I will adjust to the majority position on that. But, you know, I just, for clarity, I'd like to put that question out there and just get a definitive opinion from the other commissioners.
Yeah, so I thought that through, and I'm not making that a hard requirement of somebody gets appointed that they would not run for office. So, I'm not making it a big, decision point for the qualifications of the appointment. But also I'm not saying you can only be appointed if you don't run. So I'm not going down that path.
And they could find after serving for 18 months, they really don't wanna run. So, you know, it's definitely, it's a challenging job. And so many people tell me they really they wanna save their marriage. I mean, I think that's, no, I mean, really, like.
There you go.
Yeah, they just said, oh my gosh, my marriage couldn't survive it.
Yeah.
So I admire people that recognize the pull that this job is gonna take on your family.
When I think it was September 11th was mentioned, it's the opening of the window for running that May primary. So it's gonna turn around quick. You know, for one way or the other.
Yes, but they
So-
don't have to register till what, March
So
something?
Commissioner Dare, what's your thought process on that?
I'm not gonna demand that somebody not run. I think we need to pick the best candidate out of our pool.
Good, thanks for talking about it. Our public meeting, that's what we wanna do here. Okay, anything else on that topic? So this time we'll reconvene on Tuesday, the 29th. It'll be the first agenda item I think we talked about. And we've already been, and I supported that we would put other agenda items on that Tuesday morning, just because the next day is the fair opening, we'll have a Wednesday board. So the vision is that we would have a 9 o'clock start time Tuesday morning, work through this process. So we'll see how long it takes. So I guess estimating the agenda is gonna be tricky on that one. But some other items, maybe consent agenda items or whatever, that won't be that.
And agenda topics will be required to be submitted by this Wednesday at noon, as
Yeah,
scheduled.
so we'll be
And our
listing
agenda
it.
conference we'll be scheduled accordingly.
But yeah, just like Commissioner Dare noted, we're right on schedule today. Every agenda item just fell right on the clock. Now it'll be ours for next Tuesday. Okay, anything else?
How did that ever happen?
I've got a couple items. So we all were able to review this Welcome Home Club member, gold level, Deschutes County, Oregon, from Mr. Steve Bates, Vietnam War Memorial Fund. So I know that we had sent some dollars a couple of years ago, in fact, I think. And they're just celebrating the fact that Deschutes County has been a partner for the Salem Vietnam Veterans War Memorial. So we have a nice certificate to acknowledge that. So,
Nice.
I was able to attend the Redmond Economic Development Board meeting last Wednesday. Pretty exciting time. One of the statements that was made was really interesting. The fact that per capita, Deschutes County is basically an economic agent for the state right now. So per capita, but the fact that we are holding on, doing well, and money's flowing, wealth is being created in our traded sector and manufacturing and services businesses. So it was just there's a moment for me thinking, oh yeah, because as I say, we hear about the big businesses leaving Oregon, some Intel layoffs in the Portland metro area. So it's good to know that we're basically stable and growing here in Central Oregon. Also, for all of us, I did attend not to represent you, but just as a follow-up, Four Rivers Vector Control District. I was able to go to that board meeting July 16th in the evening. Saw the appointed members that we put on that board. 5 of them are working together well. They definitely have questions amongst each other. They scheduled a work session and another board meeting, so they're going to get through it. And we also need to remember, it's a vector control district. The staff is doing a good job for the mission of the district. There was just some turmoil in the leadership and the board member dynamics. So I was able to attend that, and I sat in the audience. I made a public statement, showed support, and they're working together.
I can give a little bit of background on the NACO conference.
Yeah, it was the NACO president.
So,
Second.
I did not actually vote in the second vice president election because it wasn't something that we had discussed here as a board, so I didn't feel comfortable doing that. But the new second vice president is Alicia Bell from, I can't remember which county in
I think it's
Michigan.
Michigan, yeah.
Waste County, Detroit,
That sounds right. But while I was there, I participated, I was asked to serve on basically two panels. One on how you get fuels reduction treatments done on federal public lands. I remember this, but I think it was helpful to tell other county commissioners and for us to be reminded that this community, we have completed more fuels reduction treatments on federal lands around our neighborhoods than just about any other community in the United States. That is the reason why Pole Creek Fire burns through in 2012, the Millie Fire burns through in 2017, Roslyn Road Fire in 2020, Darlene Fire 2024, Bachelor Complex last year too, why we were able to catch these fires before they burned into neighborhoods. Catch them, drop them to the ground and hold them because of all those treatments. And the magic, the key to getting all that work done was the collaborative agreements that were forged by stakeholders who worked very hard in our community to find common ground, and then go and tell Congress and federal government in DC that this was a good place to invest fuels reduction dollars, which are necessary because the value of the wood in any given acre that needs to be treated does not cover the full costs of getting the work done. So that was one panel. The other panel I served on with that was really interesting. That was just kind of last minute. It was on energy development, and they asked me to join the panel because we have that renewable natural gas project going at our landfill, or soon to be built and operational. Made some really good contacts with the I forget the name of the gas association, but the utilities like Cascade Natural Gas and Northwest Natural have a national association. And so I made some really good contacts with the guy who works for that association, who tracks these renewable natural gas projects around the nation. And he was very interested in the concept of now that we're going to have all this infrastructure to scrub methane and put it in a natural gas pipeline, he was really interested in the idea of thermal gasification of woody biomass to make natural gas, which would also produce out the tail end a bunch of biochar, which would be really, really valuable to add to the soil in local farms to improve water retention and productivity of the soil, and also would have the additional benefit of basically storing inert carbon for decades to come. So if you could get people to pay for carbon storage, and you can get people to pay for renewable natural gas, then you could have a project like that here in Deschutes County somewhere, maybe located nearby the landfill or something like that. Those are two of the really interesting takeaways for me from the conference.
Thanks for representing. Any other items?
Okay, so I went back and looked at my calendar since we haven't had anything since
Yeah,
30th.
couple weeks.
I actually did meet with Jeff Pines and someone who was doing an event, and they were having a difference of opinion about the billing, and I looked at the contract and thought that the contract really needs to be more professional, and hopefully that will happen. Then I did go to an LGAC meeting at Salem for working with OHA and what we're doing. I went to the EDCO annual meeting, and I also went to the district COI meeting on water. And the good news was Jeremy said next month won't be so great, but this month actually things are looking good. Did meet with Billy Williams. Apparently our vote on DEI, remember we were whatever, well, other counties are now realizing they have DEI issues, and if the federal government stops their funding, it's significant. So he's actually analyzing and providing advice for several counties in our state on what's the best way to go. Went to the Project Wildfire meeting last Tuesday. It was with an insurance presentation. It was a really good meeting if you have a chance to watch that. And then Sisters EDCO is in the rebuilding stage at this moment in time. I believe we're short 4 members, and that meeting was last week. So I heard that there was somebody new that's gonna join that. So it was all, yeah, the EDCO annual meeting was great, and there's a new chair, so happy to be there.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else? So next is executive session. Yeah, couple items.
The Deschutes County Board of Commissioners will now convene an executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660. The specific authorization for this executive session is ORS 192.660 subsection 2H, which allows the board to meet in order to discuss litigation matters. Designated staff and the media are allowed to remain during the executive session. However, the media may only report that the board met in executive session and the identified basis for meeting in executive session. Recording devices are not permitted. No final decisions will be made. And at the conclusion, we will open the doors and invite the audience back to the room.
Okay, so I'll take it as a stand-up before we switch the Zoom call, I think, for a little bit.
Are we taking a break?
Just a stand-up right now.
Okay, well, I'll stand up and run down the hall.
Okay, I got